Alright YouTube, so today I'm filming a video that I really did not want to make. This will be a review on the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette, which I did buy with my own money. $72 at 4 a.m. on release day. I was so utterly excited for this palette. And yes, I am here to make this video to tell you that I will be returning this to Sephora. In this video, I'm going to tell you why that is. I hope that I can convey that even though this palette didn't work out for me, I don't think it's a terrible palette. I can actually quite understand why some people would want and would love this palette. However, it didn't work out for me, and what I plan to do in this video is to take you through the thought processes that I had, what happened to me, the looks that I made with this palette, show you all of that, and ultimately help you in order to decide whether this palette will or will not work out for you, if you'll have a similar experience to me, or if you and I are completely different people and you might love this palette. And let me also get the elephant in the room out of the way right now. This eye is extremely irritated today. I don't know why. This is a very unusual situation for me. I ended up crying off half of my blush over here. I don't know if some of the glitter in the palette got in my eye. I don't know what happened. This happened after my makeup application. But I want to film this video because I want to return this palette, so I do apologize for all of this going on. So in order for you to understand my thought processes, let me first tell you, the Rose Gold palette is one of my top 3 palettes in my entire collection, and I own at least 50 eyeshadow palettes. I absolutely and completely adore this. I've talked about this in many videos. I think that these textured shades on the top are all incredibly unique. I personally like the design of it. I like this clear cover so I can see what I'm getting in here. I adore this. I think it was worth every penny that I paid. So when Huda Beauty announced her Desert Dusk palette, I was so incredibly excited. I thought that this was going to be the purple counterpart to the Rose Gold palette. And let me just start by showing you guys a comparison of these two. I don't know if you could see this, but this is the one I was expecting to be the purple counterpart, and personally, I don't think it's that different. Another little bit of a side note here. The top one is the Rose Gold palette and the bottom is the Desert Dusk. Do you see a word that is missing? That textured word, that is what I loved about the Rose Gold palette, and apparently Desert Dusk isn't pretending to even be that. So, in part, I blame myself for having an expectation of what this palette would be when that may or may not be what it actually is. I mean, even the picture on the front, it's not a purple look, is it? Now I'm going to jump ahead of myself real fast to tell you that this look that I'm wearing today, this is what I wanted this palette to be completely. I finally achieved it. I absolutely love this look. However, this, in my opinion, is the one purple look that you will get with this palette. And I'll get into this in a little bit in this video. Let me start by telling you the experience of me unboxing this palette. So to jump into my journey of receiving this palette and my initial thoughts on it, I dug into this so fast. I actually kind of wanted to film a first impression, but it wasn't going to happen because of how sheerly excited I was. I was so incredibly excited for this palette, you guys. So I immediately started digging into it. I really wanted to play around with that super glittery shade right there called Cosmo. And so I did. That was the first look that I made. I used Cosmo. Let me flip this around. I used Cosmo and Saffron Blazing, and then Desert Sand as my base. And I'm going to show you that look. Now, I already knew there were problems from the start. I was still a little optimistic at this point. I think you can see I was still pretty happy in my face. My problem is, I was not able to get that super glittery Cosmo shade to sit where I wanted it to. Now, I started with Too Faced glitter glue. I thought that I had pushed it all the way up into my crease, but I just could not quite seem to get the color where it should have sat. And you can kind of see it was sitting a little low. I mean, it's a pretty look, but if I'm really being honest and objective with you, it's not anything groundbreaking, and I can make any of the big reddish orange palettes can give you that same exact look that I made. So So at this point, I felt like I just needed to play around with this palette a little more to figure out how to make it work for myself. And I, of course, also wanted to explore the purple shades, which is why I wanted this palette. So for the second look that I made with this, I used the shade Eden, which looks a little pink in person, as well as Amethyst in the crease, and then I topped that with the shade Angelic, and I finished it off with Nefertiti. This look was really frustrating to me because by using Eden and Amethyst together, I had a lot of trouble blending. You can see where it's unblended in this look that I'm about to show you. And then Nefertiti really didn't give me very much inner corner highlight at all. I find in general these don't give you a lot of inner corner highlight because they're too thick to sit in that part of the eye. I was very underwhelmed by this look, and you can really see it in my face. I think this is the point where you can start to see that I am actually looking kind of depressed in my face. I mean, I had spent $72 on a palette that I was so excited for and felt very underwhelmed. So I decided to play around with the duochrome, including this retrograde shade, which I put over a brown cream base. And I also used this shade in my crease, as well as some of these highlighting colors over here. And this is the very underwhelming look that I got. Now, I feel like that looks so incredibly boring out of a palette that is presenting itself in such a gorgeous way, a follow-up to the rose gold palette. I was just so incredibly underwhelmed. I didn't touch the palette for 2 days. Today's the first day back, and by now I finally figured out that in order to use this palette, anytime you're going to use one of these duochromes, what you will have to do to use them is to lay down first your base of, I would recommend a high-quality primer. Lay that down. Over that, put some Too Faced glitter glue, and then finish off with these colors. Now, this is a lot of steps. This is already a $65 palette. I'm telling you that you need to spend $20 on, at least, on different primers for it. And to me, that's asking a lot of your customers. And I guess that's my bottom line. For me, I was really expecting and hoping to receive a beautiful palette that was not exceptionally difficult to work with, and I do feel that it is difficult to work with. I feel like these mattes do not blend out as well as I want them to. I feel like working with the duochromes is really quite challenging. I think that if I spent more time with this, I could probably make some better looks, like the look that I made today. However, this is the single look that I wanted from this palette, and I can't possibly recreate it more than this. What I used today is a base of Amethyst, and over that Too Faced glitter glue, and then this shade Twilight. Yes, I'm happy with the look, but I can dupe this without having to pay $65 and get a whole bunch of other warm, brown, red neutrals. Now what you can't see right now is that under the duochrome, this Amethyst shade, that purple one, is super patchy. So let me tell you about the dupe for it, what I already own, why I am going to be returning this. So this is the Viseart Editorials. That is the shade Amethyst. And I'm going to be real with you guys. This swatch is kind of not the best, but there is a one swipe swatch of Amethyst. The purple color in that palette. And then here is the Huda Beauty Amethyst next to it. Viseart, Huda Beauty. I can't justify keeping the less high quality version of that goes so incredibly patchy. Let's see if you'll be able to see how patchy it blends out. You can kind of tell. It blends out super patchy, whereas the Viseart one doesn't. What about that gorgeous duochrome, right? Let me swatch that for you guys. This will be Twilight. The Viseart stained my arm. Alright, there's Twilight. And now what I'm going to swatch for you is the Stila Magnificent Metals in Sea Siren. Are you beginning to get an idea of why I personally do not need this palette? Okay, I want to real quickly show you guys some swatches. This is every one of the matte shades in this palette. When you take them out of this palette, this looks so unspectacular. This looks like every warm palette on the market right now. These are indeed nice reddish orange shades, but again, they're just nothing new. The shimmers from this palette, and while they do look absolutely beautiful, especially these to me, they're absolutely nothing unique, especially right now. So this one right here, that top swatch that I have on my arm over here is from the Urban Decay Naked Heat, which is a fantastic palette, and to me that is pretty much the exact same. There might be a little bit more shimmer in the one from the Desert Dusk, but otherwise they're basically the same exact color. And then I swatched some of the Modern Renaissance down here to show you that there's a lot of comparisons as well. They're not the same, they're not the exact same, but this one right here, that's the glitter, and it's, you can see how much fallout there is. You can work with it with the glitter glue, but I mean the fallout it's ridiculous. Here's what really irks me about these palettes. Over here I swatched 4 shades from the Rose Gold palette, and over here I swatched 4 shades from the new Desert Dusk palette, and hopefully you'll be able to see that these are so incredibly similar. In fact, this shade right here, Angelic, is the exact same shade in both palettes, and then we've got 2 of these light tan colors, 2 of these matte reds, and then 2 of these almost the same shimmery reds. I just don't understand why there's so much repeat going on in the new palette. I understand if you're a fan of those colors, but give us a different palette. My overall consensus of the Desert Dusk, again, to repeat myself, it's not that this is a terrible palette, it's that it is a warm palette with 2 kind of purple shades in it. I think that if you are looking for a purple palette, I would absolutely not recommend this. If, however, you do not own the Rose Gold palette, if you do not own the Stila Magnificent Metal and Sea Siren, if you do not own the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette, this might be a good option for you. However, if you do own those hyped palettes and you add this to your collection, you might also be disappointed. You might be as disappointed as I am, because this is still not a cheap palette, and it's very repetitious. That's what it feels to me. It's repetitious and more challenging to work with. I do want to emphasize that. I'm not a makeup artist, I'm just a fan of makeup, and for me, I struggled so much more to use this than I did with the Rose Gold. Even swatching these just now, I really noticed that these are softer and not as powdery. They're not kicking up anywhere near as much. Even the textured shades, these got so powdery on me, and I feel like you can kind of see it. You can see just how much I've dented into these colors off of, you know, 1 use per shade, whereas I've been using this for months now, and it barely looks used. Okay guys, so that's my review. I'm packing this guy up and taking him back to Sephora. It's just not worth it for me. I hope that I managed to make this video without offending anybody, because I do know for a fact that there are people who are loving this palette, and I completely respect your opinion. I get it. I love this look. I really love this look. I wish this palette had 18 shades of purples. Something different. And I guess that's what I would say to Huda Beauty, who's never going to watch this. But if she ever was, I would say, please don't repeat your palettes, because your customers are going to buy them and notice that it's a repeat, and we're not going to be exactly satisfied. We want to be able to spend, we'll spend $65 multiple times if you keep giving us different items of the same quality. Things that are unique enough to our collection for us to justify the price tag. Alright guys, that's all I have to say. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you did like this, please give it a like, hit subscribe, and thanks so much for watching. Make sure you're entered in my giveaway. I will link it below, and peace out, YouTube.